Welcome everybody. Here's Luis Daniel Maldonado Fonken for the Matrix Q podcast for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. And today our guest is Kiona. She has a very new contact with us, recently, and she's a very inspiring person. I really would like you to know her. We're going to talk about her work today. And please, Kiona, share with us about what you do.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Louise, for the warm welcome and the introduction so far. I work in workplace well-being. I run my own business, and what I focus on mainly is helping leaders and employees and entrepreneurs really build a business from the ground up with workplace well-being in mind, so that we can integrate it into a culture rather than putting it on top when people have already faced burnout or are already feeling stressed.
Okay, that's really wonderful. How long have you been doing this work?
This specifically since about August 2022. So
Okay.
about a year now. Yeah.
Now, we're talking about purpose-driven entrepreneurship, right? So this is a question I have to ask you anyway.
Yes.
What is your purpose in the work?
My purpose in the work, it really just trickles down to the fundamental human being. I think what we tend to forget sometimes is that we are all here to enjoy ourselves, and we're all here to, make the best life for ourselves that we possibly can. And we often just get so stuck into doing. I like to say people are stuck in human doing, and we need to focus on being a human being instead, because that is what we are in the end. The purpose that I feel very drawn to and very close to is helping people understand that and really get grounded with, okay, this is where you're going to find your passion. This is where you're going to find that moment where you can thrive and really excel in what you love doing. And that is going through workplace well-being. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I wish more people will be dedicated like you, to care for all of us to have a better life, right? Even if we do business, it's really important that we care for ourselves. Which brings me to the next question. How do you create with your work a positive impulse for the following 9 generations? Do you have this long-term vision too?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for asking. You know what? I think as we grow older, and you may have experienced this, some of the listeners may have experienced this, as you get older, you start to think about, okay, what can I do to make sure that all the things that I have learned, all the experiences that I've had, the knowledge that I've gathered, that all of these aspects are bundled into an easy to understand and to grasp sort of lecture that you can just hand over to people and say, this is what I learned through all of these experiences. I'm telling you so that you don't have to go through them. And I think it's one of these things you get older and that just starts to pop up more and more. You think, okay, what can I do to make sure that what I've learned doesn't just go to waste and is actually going to support people in the longer term, right? And so I think with building programs for me personally and coaching individuals, it's really about setting up the next generation as well for long-term success and sustainable success, as you're you're also looking into that purpose-driven sustainable growth and success that we want to create for the next generations to come.
It means also that your customers somehow need to commit to pass the knowledge to the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Because if they don't, then it does go to waste. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, if you manage to motivate them, to participate in that chain of knowledge, and experience and motivation. So If you would describe the value that you deliver for your customers in few words, what would you say?
It's a really tough question, actually. I think the value, it just comes down to the basics, really. I think the value that we all look for in the end is connection, belonging, and having a sense of purpose and having a sense of what I'm doing makes a difference. And even if we don't know that that's what we feel, subconsciously, that's how we're all wired. We all want to make a difference in one way or another. And being in a position to do that, I think is a beautiful way of expressing yourself and a beautiful way of bringing across a message to a wider public. And that's really the value that I bring to my clients as well, because for them, it's about building a business, but it's also about building a sustainable business that can grow from success that just flows. And it doesn't just, it doesn't have to be too structured and too strategized because, all those risk analysis and things like that. Yes, they're important, but those come second to building a business that's going to sustain itself in the short term.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. I would like to recall the challenging experiences that we entrepreneurs had in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And how we had to face a complete new circumstance, right? Many of us shifting to working online. Those that have many employees also challenged with the health, the collaboration, the development of the business, pivoting businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Experienced entrepreneurs that found the challenge very difficult and eventually could not pivot because they were used to a structure, always cyclical system of work.
Mm-hmm.
So today, mental health still a challenge, very much for entrepreneurs. And I think for purpose-driven entrepreneurs that are driven by their heart, by their inspiration, that engage into challenges normally other entrepreneurs will never do because they're going beyond just profit. How it is for you at the moment, looking also at the future, the need of improving work-life balance. You're working in the field, right? So how important it is for us to implement systems or to prevent or to strengthen people, to facilitate new skills. Do you see that that's happening in the business world at the moment? Did we learn the lesson or we still need to go deeper?
I love how you put that. Did we learn the lesson or do we need to go deeper still? Honestly, I speak from personal experience when I say that it's not as easy as it may seem. Even when you are a purpose-driven entrepreneur, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are able to balance your work and your life. In fact, it kind of intertwines so often that it becomes harder to find the right balance between work and life. And I say this because last year, at the beginning of last year, I ran into a burnout myself with my business. And so even though I love doing everything that encompassed my business, it also meant that I was doing everything all the time. And I was overworking myself with doing things that I loved. And that's not healthy either. So what I find really important, working with my clients, but for myself as well, is listening to my body. If my body is telling me, I'm tired, you should not be doing this right now. For example, I've had a bit of a wrist issue. So my body is telling me, stop doing so much typing, and I have to listen to that. And those are just the little things that you start to pick up on as you scale and grow your business. For me, it's really important to check in with myself every morning and even every evening to see, okay, what have I accomplished today, and how do I feel about what I've accomplished? But how does my physique, how does my inner being feel about the amount of work that I've done on a daily basis as well? And that doesn't just go for entrepreneurs; it goes for CEOs in large corporations, and it goes for managers in smaller startups. It doesn't really matter. And we all need to find a balance between what do I value, what are my goals, and what is my purpose? How much of that am I doing in a flow state, and what are my boundaries so that I can keep everything in place in a way that suits me and serve what's the word soothes my inner being, and make sure that I am functioning on the optimum level that I can perform on. I hope that answers your question. I know it's a very long
yes, you
answer.
did. Absolutely. Thank you very much. I mean, I've been following the journey with you, what you have been sharing, and it's very, very valuable. Thank you. It triggers me because it requires from us creativity to match our business project, the way we work, with our capacity to endure it. That means that we have to set clear expectations, to give to ourselves a challenge that we can manage in a healthy way. And we need to be creative for that. And sometimes we're so much goal oriented that we go for what can be done, what needs to be done, but we miss that limit, right? And we need to be close to it.
Yes. Exactly. And that's why the boundaries are so important. If you don't have the capability, or if you're unable to set boundaries to support your being, you're always going to run into some sort of stress, burnout, maybe even get some anxiety as a result of that. And we don't want anyone to end up like that. So it's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's true. Myself, I've been also through 3 times burnout. I needed 3 times the lesson.
Right? Sometimes it's a tough lesson to learn, so I'm sorry to hear that.
Sometimes you need to go through it a few times. And I think the first time for me was I was overconfident and probably arrogant, considering that the techniques I learned from yoga, meditation, self-balancing will help me to compensate any kind of harshness that the business will bring, But that makes no sense when I see, backwards in time. I feel, why would I think that? Why I would put myself into that edge? I was working 24/7, so I would receive phone calls in any moment in the night. Stand up and attend the customers. Really bad thing. Really, really bad. Yeah, but
well, I'm glad you said that, because more people need to hear it sometimes as well, right? It's all well and good to think, oh, but I can handle it. Sure. But there's going to come a point where you can't handle it. So listen to the people who've gone through it.
And there's always the idea that, I just do it 2 more weeks, because I need to get that master in the business. And that's what the point that we should not go, we should not cross the line. Okay, next question for you, because I'm very curious about your business and how you work. And so, how do you generate wealth in your business? What's your business model? How people compensate you for the work you do?
Yeah, so I dabbled around with this a little bit to just find out what is the best option for me. I base it on my values, because for me, connection is very important. Personal connection is very important. And it's therefore very important for me to be close to my clients. I don't just want to sell courses and be like, you do it on your own, and I never speak to a client and all those kind of things. While that's great, for me, it's the extra layer that adds more value. I do have some courses, but I always encourage my clients to at least have a few coaching sessions with me on top of that, where I can support them through the change and the transformation, because that's essentially what it is. And so with this business model that I'm doing right now, I have offers for example, a 30-day where it's really quite intensive to do an audit. I have a 3-month program and I have a 6-month program. And while these programs are very much, I'm servicing a client privately, directly, there is also a community attached to that, so that they can learn from each other, and they can also see that, hey, I'm not the only leader or only person who is struggling with this in my organization. Maybe I can learn from what they're going through, because I might not have tried anything like that before, and vice versa. So while I'm very much focused on the individual, it's still very important to create a community, in my opinion, where people can feel more like they belong, and that whatever they're doing isn't necessarily wrong. It's just not the right thing for them in that moment.
Very good. Just understand. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, we are in different moments in our lives and need the different things and make different type of choices. So certainly, in a certain moment in that process, we are really not perfect. Probably not meant to be perfect, and we try hard to be perfect, right? And in that effort, we compare ourselves with others, but there is a moment in which we can recognize our own journey in others and receive support from that connection. That's, I think, great step. I'm glad that you facilitate that space, for people to connect. It's really very important.